Highlight on Airbnb groups. Airbnb is a sharing website so that you can share your apartment so that you can afford to pay the rent. Well, at least that's what it is for me. Basically, you let your space be shared with somebody else, and then they pay Airbnb. And then Airbnb takes some of that money and gives a bunch of that money away to different government entities, and then give you a little bit left over. So this is kind of a response to the population densification programs that have gone on for trying to get people packed into the cities with Plan Bay Area and various other types of things that are going on all over the world. Population densification, they call it sharing economy, where they decide that you're going to share your apartment so that you can afford to pay the rent. And well, anyway, they've got these groups on here, and the groups are designed so that you can be a better host. And they'll tell you to go to the groups and read the groups and post in the groups to get your listing up. And so here we start out with a bunch of shouting. This is Airbnb shouting at me and making a threat. I will erase your listing. Oh my goodness! So if I post about my apartment and say about that, it's a separate thing from this group. They're threatening to erase it under the. See, I will erase your listing, comment or post if is not relative to a story. So they didn't really proofread it. We put a bunch of emotional shouting on here. This is pretty typical for Airbnb staff. They're very arrogant, very rude, and arbitrary. When you call on the phone, they're very deferent and they're very passive on the phone. They act that way. It's acting. But this is the real Airbnb. Now, I'm not going to go over the content of what is in this group, but if I try and search for anything in here, if I search for room, right away I get JavaScript errors, and I can also see in this console, which you can pull up by going Option, Command, I on a Mac. On Windows it's F12, but Mac it's Option, Command, I, and I'll pull that up. And we see no element found. We see JavaScript errors. This is only one of the errors. You'll get a bunch of different errors depending on whatever you're trying to search for, or whatever's going on at the time in the website. I've gotten at least 3. I've gotten type errors, errors of jQuery. And we can also view and take a look at where this is coming from. So if I highlight that console.log text, cannot create relation, and then I can search in here, I can go bang and then paste that in there. Now I can see here this is coming up in A4, and I will look over here in Sources, Firefox Developer Toolbar. I can actually open that in a new tab, which I want to actually see the whole thing. And I can search for that right in here. Okay, console.warn, cannot create relation. For model, already taken by relation, and so they've got some MVC on the client. Now this is something that's been only going on for a few years, is doing this really over-the-top MVC stuff on the client. And now they even call it MVW, which is model, view, whatever, MVW. Too much JavaScript, doing too much on the client side. Here we have the project where that came out of, and so we can find out exactly where this came from. And here, JavaScript-based web page timing. Okay, great. This project has been archived. For more information, see this post. Okay, Google code became read-only for most projects. Okay, great. That's just fantastic. So this is pretty common. You figure that people post up a JavaScript library. It's the latest and greatest thing. Oh my God, we better download this, and they put it on their website. They put it in production. The next thing you know, there's JavaScript errors, and the next thing you know, it doesn't even work. Then what are you going to do? Well, this is the problem with hiring JavaScript library users. These are people who download the JavaScript library, read the JavaScript library documentation, go through the examples, and say, yeah, I can do it. I'm a JavaScript developer. No, you're really not a JavaScript developer. You're somebody who uses JavaScript, doesn't really understand web browsers, doesn't really understand program design, object-oriented programming, callbacks. And we can see that. It's the case right here. We're getting JavaScript errors and console.log statements. This is the production website. This is their most popular group of the Airbnb groups, which the rest of the Airbnb website recommends that we go to. This is a big website. Okay, this is not just some little one-off site somewhere else, or you know, Joe's Donut Shop or whatever. Okay, this is a big worldwide website. Tons of traffic to this website. And it doesn't work. Groups don't work. You can't search. This is the latest version of, not quite the latest version of Firefox. Now we have 41. I have version 40. You'll see that I just got 41 while I was making this video finished. And you can see this is what happens. They download a JavaScript library, throw it on the web page. Pretty soon it doesn't work, and then they're gone. And so then what it takes is somebody like me to come in and fix it. And a lot of times I don't get paid as much as the people who originally made it. It's just a shame. That's the way it is. You know, you get the trendies who follow the trends, and there's a lot of hype around the trends, the latest libraries, and well, they get paid a lot. You know, 120 on up, $200 an hour. React.js, AngularJS, and keep in mind that just because these libraries are popular does not mean that you are intimately familiar with how well they're written. Because if you were intimately familiar with how they're written, you might not have such nice things to say about them. You might not have such a great impression about them. Okay, guys, so thanks for watching. This is basically a video about the blind leading the blind. This is a case of bad ideas and bad implementations. This is a case of arrogance and greed where people are trying to get jobs because they need money, and they're getting a lot of money for it. And they're taking all the money that I would get. So it makes it very difficult for me to actually what I would like to think of as sharing, where I can share my place and charge not too much and make it accessible for good people, for students, for people who want to go on vacations and cheap. And so I don't have to charge a lot of money and then give most of that money away to the people who are creating the service, which is terribly done, terribly done. It's all hyped up, all marketing to get people, hire the greatest JavaScript library users, and then they make this garbage. And they make everything expensive in San Francisco, so nobody else can really afford to live. The only people who can afford it are the people who are in the industries which have been promoted by sustainable development. In those industries, well, technology, that's it. So all the money goes into these, into this technology, and we build such garbage, and then the people who are just trying to use this technology, which is me, don't get most of that money. And so, I want to try and get some of that money. Well, I have to go back and work for technology. I have to work for these assholes who are building this garbage, and I have to go and clean up their mess. And that's how I do it, basically. I launch the console here, I find out where the error is, and I try to carefully remove and extricate and abate a lot of the issues that were caused by the bad implementation of the bad ideas, of the arrogance, of the greed. I have to go in and clean that up and trim it up and make it nicer. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Yeah, that's it.